I'm delighted to introduce our speaker this evening. Retired Vice Admiral Joe Tofalo graduated from the Naval Academy in 1983 and served 35 years in the Navy, retiring as a Vice Admiral. He was a career submariner and commanded at numerous levels, including submarine, squadron, group, and force levels. His culminating submarine flag officer assignments were as the Director of Undersea Warfare, responsible for submarine force warfighting requirements and the budgets to achieve those requirements, and then as Commander of Submarine Forces, responsible for the submarine forces vision, policies, and operations. Admiral Tofalo's at-sea assignments were on the USS Flasher, the USS Michigan, and the USS Montpelier. In his at-sea command assignments were as commanding officer of the USS Maine and commander of Submarine Squadron 3. And since this is a Parents Club event, I thought it worth mentioning that Admiral Tofalo's father was a 35-year career naval officer, and his mother was a WAVE, one of the first enlisted women in the United States Navy. Thank you, Admiral, for joining us. We're delighted to have you. I know the MIDs are looking forward to hearing from you. And with that, I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mark. Just give me a thumbs up. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Great, great. Well, yeah, thank you for the very kind introduction, and just congratulations to all of you. I mean, just a super huge accomplishment. You know, graduation is imminent, and congratulations to the parents as well, because you know, I know you're right there with them, and it's you know, what you are about to embark on is bigger than yourselves, and you probably appreciate some of that now, but you don't totally appreciate all of it, and you just got to go with it, and you know, seize every day. Because it truly, you know, you're about to embark on something that's just really a special thing. So congratulations and thank you for your service. Thank you for wearing the cloth. You know, you could certainly do something else. You know, probably even make some more money. But there are other things in life that are more important than just that. And what you are undertaking is part of that. It's why I did it for 35 years. It's why my mom and dad were, you know, both served. Like Mark said, my father was a Naval Academy class of 42. That class graduated on December 19th, 1941. Wow. So, you know, 12 days after Pearl Harbor was attacked, instead of going home for Christmas vacation that senior year, that first class year, they went to war. So think about that as you think about, you know, what you're about to embark on here on the 28th of May. Great stuff. So I asked, you know, I was talking with Shannon about how to do this. You know, I could give remarks. You don't want to hear some old three-star speak. So I said, well, why don't you get some questions from the MIDs, and we'll use those as a point of departure. So that's the approach we took with this. So the questions that I have in front of me are the ones that you submitted and were curated and passed on by Shannon, Mark, and Ellen. So I'm gonna use those. By all means, if somebody has a question about something, you know, please speak up. And you know, there's so many screens on here. If you're waving your hand, I may not see you, so you may just have to speak up if you have a question about something. So I'll jump into this. I know we have until at least 9 o'clock. I'm happy to stay on longer and talk to people if they want to talk, but at the same time, I don't want to hold people up, given that they maybe were expecting it to end at you know, end at 9. So the first question was, what advice do you wish you had received when you were in our shoes before starting your career? I had to laugh. I was looking at these here about an hour ago. I had to laugh when I read that because I don't know that I got any advice. So I guess any advice would be more than what I got. But I think the advice that I would give you is as you know, when you get to your ship, you know, make sure you understand your roles. I'm going to say ship or submarine. You know, I understand that. You know, I'm not trying to marginalize any of the Marines in the crowd or anybody else who's going in any whatever warfare, especially you're going to, because they're all fantastic. But you kind of have two roles. You know, one is you've got to get qualified on your ship. You know, you've got to earn your SWO pin. You've got to earn your dolphins. You got to earn your wings. And of course, you know, wings are a little bit different because, you know, that happens in slightly a different pace. But you've got to get qualified in your warfare specialty. I mean, that's your primary thing that you've got to be absolutely focused on, because you're going to feel better. You're going to feel like you're contributing. You know, and that's going to be important to you. You'll have more respect with the crew because, you know, in some respects, you know, you're just a brand new person who can't do anything, and you know, they want to see you on the watch bill. So get qualified and work hard on that, and because that's just a win-win when you do that. But at the same time, you have a leadership role. It's very easy to get consumed in your own qualifications, and you know, you're going to have a day job, if you will, also, and that can be hard because it's, again, you know, you have some, you know, chief petty officer who's been in the Navy for 15 years and you're brand new. How do you lead that person? You'd be surprised. You know more than you think you know, for one thing. And you also have great insights, great common sense, great perspective. And you've learned a lot about leadership already. But it's the tension between these two roles, which is kind of where I started, that I think you just have to think about. And I don't know that I fully appreciated that to the extent that you know, that I probably should have. So that's kind of my advice there. Next question is, what are the top few things that may not be obvious to us that we need to know or implement in order to be successful in transitioning from being a midshipman to being an officer? So things that aren't obvious, the top things that aren't obvious. So that's a little bit dangerous, because I start talking about something and you might leave off, you know, what's obvious to me is not obvious to you or obvious to somebody else. So I'm going to assume that obvious stuff is integrity, teamwork, initiative, you know, knowledge is power, honor, courage, commitment, leadership by example, the value of the chain of command. I mean, I'm going to call that all obvious stuff. There's a lot of obvious stuff. So what are the more subtle things, I guess, which I think is what the question was kind of getting at. And there was kind of three things that struck me as I was reading this. The first one would be from a behavioral standpoint. You are the biggest threat to yourself. You know, don't do something unless you're comfortable having your mom and the president of the United States watch you do it on TV. I know that sounds somewhat trite, but you know, you're no longer going to be under the thumb of Mother Bancroft and all the other, you know, million-watt microscopes that you have on a day-to-day basis at the academy, and a lot more autonomy. And just you know, you are the biggest threat to yourself. And so, you know, be smart about that from a behavioral standpoint. On a professional front, I would say trust your gut. I mentioned this earlier. You know more than you think you do, and you know, when you're on the bridge, when you're in the engine room, when you're in the cockpit, when you're on the firing line, you know, whatever your warfare specialty is, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. You know, your gut is a fine-tuned pattern recognition instrument, if I may. And if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Trust your gut. And then the other thing that may not be obvious, that it wasn't obvious to me, but it's something that I really came to understand more throughout my career, and that's the value of self-assessment. Being below average at something is not the problem. The problem is not knowing you're below average at something. And so you need to cultivate in yourself and in your team this ability to personally self-assess, and for your team to be able to self-assess. Because if you recognize the problem, then you can fix it. But not knowing what you don't know is a dangerous place to be. So those are three things that maybe not have been in the Captain Obvious category. And so those are the three that kind of came to my mind there. The next question was, for any of the tough points in your career, what did you use as a motivation to keep going? And I think for that, I kind of go back to what I said at the very beginning when I was congratulating you, and how you're part of something that is bigger than yourself. This element of service, this element of contributing at a higher level, the responsibility that you will have, just months out of the academy, whether it's in the cockpit, whether you're standing watch over a nuclear reactor, or you're on the bridge conning the ship, or you're leading a team of Marines, running out of a helicopter somewhere and doing whatever. It's an incredible amount of responsibility. It's an incredible mission, and you are you're part of something that's bigger than yourself. So there are going to be times in your career where you're going to go, man, this sucks. I'm really bumming out, and you need to push through that. And I'm telling you, that's not just something about the Navy. I mean, you could be a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a mechanic, whatever, and you're still going to have those same moments. So I'm not drawing out something that's unique to the Navy. That's just life. But the great news for us and in this profession is that in those moments you can say, my goodness, I mean, look at what I am doing right now. Look at where I am. Look at these duty stations that were just reeled off from Pearl Harbor to Norfolk. Ships that are going to the Med, to the Northern Atlantic, to the Persian Gulf, to Westpac. Marines that are doing what Marines do. I mean, that's just something that's bigger than any of us. And that is something that in the tough times, don't be afraid to lean on that. The other thing that's great about the Navy, and that can help with some of those tough times, is that every tour is nominally 2 or 3 years. It's going to change in 2 or 3 years. And if the issue is your immediate boss or your boss's boss or the skipper or whatever that might be bringing some extra stress in your life, they're on a 2 or 3 year tour, so they probably rotate sometime in the next 12 months. So there's this constant. It's a very dynamic world. It's constantly changing. It's always new. It's always fresh, and no assignment is a life sentence. So when it gets tough, just that's another thing you can take stock in if you need to. But that mission thing, that's just huge, and it really it's why I did it for 35 years, and it's why I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would trade places with any of you in a heartbeat. And I'd also tell you, you're never alone. You know, the smart person is not the person that has all the answers. You know, it's the person that understands how to use the resources that they have, and isn't afraid to ask for help and take advantage of that help. So that, you know, that's another thing. You know, it's in some of the tougher times. So that was good question. Next question was, do you have any regrets from your career? If you could redo it, what would you change? And I got to tell you, I don't have many. Of course, regret's a big word, so you know, I take that word pretty seriously. But I loved every minute of it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I really would. I will say that if I had any, you know, regret, if I'm going to use that word, a big word, yeah, there were times in my career where I allowed my work-life balance to get out of whack. That's a natural. That's, again, this is not unique to the Navy or the Marine Corps or the Armed Services. I mean, this can happen in a lot of professions. I will tell you that to some extent, I learned that being out of whack like that, it's for certain times, that's actually okay. You know, you are going to get out of balance on some sea tours. You know, if you're a doctor in doing their residency, or if you're studying for the bar as a lawyer, or if you're trying to work your way up the corporate ladder somewhere, you're going to find yourself with that same challenge. And there are times when being out of whack, it's okay. You know, don't embrace it. You know, there will be some good things that come from that. But overall, you must strive for work-life balance. You have to. You'll get burned out, and that's no good either. Now, you need to be able to recognize it. Gets back to that kind of self-assessment comment I was talking about. And if you have a partner, and you may not have one now, but at some point you will, you know, you need to talk about it with that person. And so that you're on the same page and you both understand that, hey, we're doing this out of balance for right now, and that's okay, particularly on the sea assignments. And then when you go to shore duty, you know, hey, fully recharge and pay back, but it's okay to talk about that, recognize it, have the conversation. My wife and I have a saying that you can have it all, just not all at the same time. And I think that kind of goes to for me, you know, kind of the one area that I kind of had to work on. Next question. What advice do you have about the ability to balance and be successful in both work and life? Okay, well, I think we pretty much kind of just talked about that. I think I'm not going to repeat that one. Let's see here. Next question. What is the most important quality of a leader in your opinion, and why? So the most important quality of a leader, I would say, hands down, no question about it, integrity. Integrity is the foundation of everything, absolutely everything. From trust in combat. I mean, if you know, if the SEALs that are about to be picked up by the submarine off the coast aren't having some trust and the you know, the performance, you know, the people on that ship doing their, you know, having the integrity to say what they mean and mean what they say. You know, I don't know what saying, you know, Marines in the field who are you know, establishing lines of fire one way or the other, and have to trust in each other. Aviators, you know, flying wing with each other. I mean, integrity is the foundation of trust, and trust is key in combat scenarios. I would also say that just foundationally, the way we run our Navy is founded fundamentally on integrity, and from that, trust. Our Navy uses a concept called mission command. It's not a centrally controlled command structure where everything is driven from the top down. We don't have a political officer that rides the ship like the Chinese and the Russians do, that's looking over the captain's shoulder. It's you know, the initial orders to submarines in World War II were as simple as a message that said, you know, execute unrestricted unrestricted submarine warfare against the enemy. I mean, that's it. That was the order. It didn't tell them how to do it. They just said, go do it. That's mission command. You cannot have that decentralized form. And frankly, that is what makes our Navy superior to any other Navy on the planet. Our people and our and from that, you know, the command structure that allows those people, allow the individual traits of those people to excel. And that fundamental concept is this concept of mission command. And mission command, the trust that a commander has in their people, you know, from the force commander, the commander of the submarine force down to the submarine skipper, and the trust that that sailor on the deck plate has in his captain. That's all based on integrity. Say what you mean what you say. So without a question, the most important quality of a leader, in my opinion, is integrity. Can't stress that enough. What is the most valuable lesson you learned as a leader that you didn't expect to learn? That's a great question. I had to think about that one a little bit. I think, and this kind of goes with another question that I saw further down. Kind of, how did things change for you as you got more senior? I think the biggest lesson I learned as a leader is that I wasn't expecting is that the best leaders are not necessarily the ones where their unit is the absolute best at everything. That's frankly impossible. You know, there are the rare exceptions, but you know, sometimes if everything is so perfect, as a leader, as a commander, I almost start to wonder, you know, we're not looking hard enough because nobody's perfect. You know, everything, it can't always be just sweetness and light. You know, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You're never standing still. And so the best leaders are not necessarily the ones that are always doing great all the time, but rather they're the ones that do the best given the hand they've been dealt. And that hand is manifest in the talent of the people, the strength of the chief's quarters, the strengths of the department heads, or the you know, the platoon leaders or the squad leaders from the Marine Corps perspective, the company commanders, the schedule that the unit has been given. You know, are you doing double pump deployments? Are you do you have an extended period in the shipyard that you immediately got to get ready for an underway following? You know, there's a little bit of money and what's in the budget, and more tactically, just the weather. You know, have you been dealt a tough day to get underway or return to port from a weather standpoint? So the good leader is the one that adapts to all of that. And maybe doesn't hit the home run every time. And that's something that initially I had this, you know, hey man, got to be number one in everything. And I'm not saying it's not good to strive to be number one. Don't get me wrong. But you know, the best leaders are the ones that can do the best given the hand they've been dealt, and really bring the best out of the team. And maybe even make a subpar team, you know, average plus. That's a lot harder to do than having an excellent team be excellent all the time. And great leaders don't do it all. You know, they get the team to do it. And that's another thing that on my own leadership journey that I certainly, you know, came to realize more. Because if the unit's relying on the CO to get it right all the time, I'm telling you, you're cruising for a bruising. At some point, you will have epic failure that could lead to someone getting hurt or, God forbid, loss of life, running the ship aground. You can't have these single superstars that are carrying the team all the time. It's a 24/7, 365 days a year, night and day thing where you've got to be highly functioning all the time. And you can only do that if the team makes that happen. So it's the leader's job to establish, the mechanisms and the culture that allow the team to do that. Establishing the ability to self-assess so they can figure out where they're broken and they can fix themselves, as an example. And it's both educational and motivational. I mean, there's training, but there's also motivating. People got to have fun. They got to enjoy what they're doing. They've got to like what they're doing. And they'll work hard for you when they do. So those are probably the most valuable lessons that I learned that I maybe didn't see those coming. Next question. What is the biggest challenge you think that you will face when you get to the fleet? Yeah, the biggest challenge. So I'm going to get back to the integrity thing again, because it's just so important to me, and it's so important to my command philosophy and to everything. Integrity in the moment of choice. You will deal with that every single day of your career. And the more you deal with it in a head-on way, it will be easier and easier, and you will do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because somebody's watching you. And you get confronted with it in the smallest things. Did I make the full pre-watch tour? Did I open the deck plate? Did I check the logs the way I was supposed to? Did I report everything to the skipper after my flight? Did I clean my weapon the right way? It goes on and on and on and on. It's integrity in the moment of choice, and it's all those little things that so much is built on. And I kind of went on about that earlier. So yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge, and you're ready for it. But it's not something. It's something that you work on, that you consciously address every day. How did your leadership style change over the years when you went from JO to Admiral? So what's interesting about moving up in the ranks is that you really become a leader of leaders the more senior you get, which is it's a different skill set, all very motivated people. You got nine submarine captains in your squadron commodore. They're all pretty motivated, so there's typically there's not a motivational issue. But this ability to really assess the hand they've been dealt and how they're dealing with it, that's how the style changes. And I think I talked about that a little bit earlier. But and it's great. It's a great question. Don't get me wrong. But getting back to the very first question, focus on being a warfighter. Focus on being a good small unit leader, and the rest will come. But again, looking at those skippers that did the best with what they had, the excellent ship is oftentimes the ship that's just average at everything, because it is really, really hard to be average at everything. And because there's so many warfighting, especially so many different things. I mean, from a submarine's perspective, you got anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, strike warfare, strategic deterrence, mine warfare, special operations, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. I mean, there's so many mission sets that you have to try to excel at. And if you can be average at all of those, man, you are excellent. There's about, and you don't want to be below average in any of them. You don't want to be failure in any of them, because somebody might get hurt. So it's that steady strain, that balance, that's working, establishing the culture and the mechanisms that allow the team to do what the team the team can carry the day. That's the key. Why did you stay in the Navy as long as you did, you old guy, you? Well, it gets back to what I said at the beginning. Being part of something that was bigger than me. That sense of mission, that sense of contribution. And that was a thing for my family too. My wife certainly participated in that. Felt like, she was, hey, like it says on the grocery bag, toughest job in the Navy. I mean, we recruit sailors, but we retain families. It is a family affair, and your whole family needs to feel like they're in it, and that's part of that. Being part of something that's bigger than you, and have fun. That's a big part of why I stayed. Having fun, great people, great travel, and the benefits are pretty good too. I mean, I pay $50 a month for my health insurance right now for me and my wife. That's absolutely unbelievable. $50 a month for me and my wife. I think my daughter pays $1,000. So for her family. So it's a great deal. I loved every minute of it. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Let's see, biggest challenge facing our country going into the future. Wow. Well, I'll be honest with you. I think our biggest challenge facing our country is our nation's budget, and how we're going to navigate our way through that, allowing us to build the Navy that our nation needs, the Navy and Marine Corps that our nation needs. And but at the same time, dealing with all the other things that we've got on our plate, COVID recovery and infrastructure, et cetera. So I truly think that the nation's budget is probably the biggest challenge facing our country. That's probably not the answer you expected, but I am a Pentagon weenie, so I did do 4 tours there, so I get the business of running the Navy. But I'll kind of take it back to what I said at the beginning. That's not something you should worry about. That was my job to worry about that. Let the Admiral worry about that. Your job is to qualify, be the best tactical warfighter you can be, and be the best division officer or small unit leader you can be. That's the biggest challenge facing our country. That's for you. That's what we need you to do. First things first. Who had the greatest impact on you during your career in the Navy? Oh man, so many great people, great leaders. But I think I would answer that question kind of in a different way and say, I think every CO I ever had had the greatest impact on me. And I mean the good ones and the bad ones. You learn from them all. Keep a book, keep a notebook. What works, what doesn't, what you'll do when you're in command, what you won't do. I'll never do that. Every leader, every CO you ever had was probably that I ever had. That's who had the greatest impact on me, because I learned a lot from them. And again, good and bad, that shaped my career. That's probably enough for Q's and A's, and I probably talked too long. Mark and Ellen, I see the time. Again, I'm happy to take some other questions or stay on the line or do whatever.
Are there any other questions from the mids that you'd like to put forth? If so,
I have one.
Just unmute and speak up.
Sir, what's your favorite memory from your time as a midshipman?
Oh man, probably sitting on the docks behind what's now the Fleet Reserve, whatever that hotel is, sitting on the docks back there having a beer. Just great memories. Sitting there in Eagle Alley and watching the boats come in and out, and hoping, wishing someday I would have one, and I did, and drove my boat down Eagle Alley, and kind of came full circle on that. That's, yeah, lot of great memories. Saturday nights hanging out there.
Thank you, sir.
Any others?
Sir, I had a question for you. Obviously, you had a long career and really enjoyed your time in the Navy. Did you expect to love it? When you were a first class midshipman, did you anticipate that you were really going to enjoy it? Or were there sort of hiccups along the way where you thought, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get out, kind of.
Well, I definitely had hiccups along the way. I kind of alluded to that. I hope, I mean, there was a time when I really thought I was going to resign, but thought about the mission, and I realized, well, heck, that CO is going to leave in a couple months, and damned if it didn't get great on the other side. And I was really glad that I did. Other than kind of what I said, I am a little unique in that, I kind of grew up in the Navy, right? My dad moved 26 times. I moved 25. My mother was a first class petty officer. All I ever knew was the Navy. So it was a little different for me. And my brother was a submariner too. But yeah, I'm not going to candy coat it. There's times where it's going to be tough. And you've had a tough midshipman experience with the COVID thing. I mean, that's just been a raw deal. I mean, other kids in other schools, similar. But again, it's about service to the country. It's about something that's bigger than ourselves, and the pride I have in that, and I not just now, but even 20, 25 years ago. It's just not something you can replace. I mean, and the things that you get to do, I mean, I remember going home as a mid, going, back to upstate New York where my friends were. I mean, some of them were leaning against the same bar that I left them at, 4 years ago. I was like, dude, what are you doing? And so you just have this incredible experience, this incredible opportunity, and you seize every minute of it, because it really is priceless, and you're going to have a ball. You are going to work hard. I'm not going to kid you, but that's okay. The best things in life come from things that you worked hard to achieve.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? All right. Any of the parents want to take a shot?
I actually have one question. It was on the list, and I thought it was a good one. What traits or qualifications do you look for in a mentor, or should the mids look for in a mentor? You may have already answered that, but.
Yeah, I think probably, I think you probably need to find somebody that you identify with. I think that's one of the unique things about a mentor, is you get to pick the person. So that's different than you're someone who's in your chain of command that you can also seek counsel from, but somebody you can identify with. But I think but beyond that, someone who is honest and candid, and that's a two-way street. so that, you can be honest and candid, and not be afraid, it's held in confidence, but they're also honest and candid with you and can tell you, hey, shipmate, that was the wrong response to that. And so there's an element of trust there. But yeah, I think someone you can identify with, and someone that you can have an honest, candid relationship with, and that takes time to nurture. It won't happen, right away, because there's an element of trust there. But I already talked about integrity and trust, right? It's the foundation of everything.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Any other questions?
Anybody else? I hope this was a good for you, and I hope it was better than just a speech. I'd like to, hope I addressed some of your questions.
Well, I think we all agree it was outstanding, and we really, really appreciate you taking the time to
Oh, you bet.
spend
My
this
pleasure.
evening with the
My
mids
pleasure.
and with all of us. And we don't really have any closing ceremony or anything like that
Oh, that's fine.
to bring this to conclusion, but we hope that it will be something that you'll all benefit from. I think certainly with the Admiral's remarks, you will, and we hope that you'll remember this as a time when the Parents Club and your parents really took pride in all you've done. So thank you to everyone. Ellen, do you have anything else? You need to unmute.
I thank everybody for their participation. It was great to see all the names, all the parents and all the mids. So thank you very much. And thank you, Admiral. It was great.
You bet. You bet. Congratulations, everybody. We'll see you in the fleet. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.